Hello, everyone. This is a couple of the videos that we are going to talk about for this week's last class and so last week of classes. And the focus here is to provide you some of the kind of key ethical things and the key kind of ideas, conceptual things, as a way to wrap up the class and the semester. Okay, one of the key elements of research, and we have talked about that throughout um, the course in one way or another, but not in very specific terms, is both the procedures as well as the kind of parameters that are involved in research, right? So when we talked about observations, when we talked about interviews, when you did some of these things, when we thought about how do we organize and write, the issue of paying attention to how we're addressing the research questions that we have, who is our audience, all those things are connected to what kind of research should and should we not do, how do we foster something that it can be helpful and pedagogically sound, how do we transform our practice with the best interest of our students at hand. All these are involve ethical issues, right? But there's of course there's other aspects of ethics that are also present, and sometimes more directly so. So in any kind of research, one of the things that is assumed is that you, as the researcher, will have thought about the well-being of the people participating with it, right? So you see that there's a series of videos and links that are connected to this video, where we talked, for instance, about the Tuskegee experiments, which were kind of infamous here in the U.S. and really led to the development of a lot of ethics elements, the Belmont Report, things that are called the IRB, that all institutions in the U.S., for instance, universities have, which is the Institutional Review Board, which looks at all research, all formal research that's taking place at universities or other centers, and takes very careful examination if they follow guidelines for that of ethical behavior, right? So in education, oftentimes you get a lot of what's called an exempt research, which means that your research is not dealing, for instance, with drugs or psychological manipulations, so things that can be immediately and seriously harmful for individuals, right? So you can be exempt for your research. For instance, if your research does not deal directly with children, and if it does not manipulate individuals in any significant sense, particularly in terms of kind of organizing experiments, right? But the IRB looks at any kind of research. It looks at how you're presenting your consent, right? Any kind of research needs to have a consent, right? So people that are participating in the research need to say, yes, I'm willing to participate in the research. They need to have an understanding that what they're doing can be undone, meaning that they can stop participation in your study at any time they want. It also means that we, as researchers, have to ask permission, right, for recording, for doing any of the kinds of things that we might do in order to collect data and to retain data. Oftentimes it means also that we need to be careful in terms of protecting people's identities, right? So oftentimes when you write research, then what you do is you use pseudonyms, right? You use alternate names, right? Or you change the names of the school or the institution where you did your research, or you try to kind of place genericals, in the kind of the southern part of the state of Florida. This is right. So we try to veil as much as necessary and as much as possible the direct implications of that, of who are participating. One, so that we protect these individuals, and two, so that particularly in qualitative research, when you're trying to get interviews, when you're getting people to speak candidly about what you're doing, you want them to feel at ease that what is going to be shown, and in a research report or in a an article does not point out directly to them, right? But that allows for a sense of anonymity, which is a real crucial aspect of research. So please take a look at all this part and think about these issues, the ethical issues of, the kinds of questions that we ask, how and whom would be involved in the research, how do we need certain level of breadth in what we do so that people cannot be immediately and easily identifiable, how the kinds of procedures that we interact, are not harmful. We have to be careful with the kinds of, particularly when we're thinking about experiments, right? Or compare people that take something or that do not take something. They are involved in a placebo effect kind of thing, right? When we're doing or not doing something that's actually working for them, just as the videos for the Tuskegee clearly show, or when we are using different treatments, right? We're trying this kind of lesson that we know is less effective, but we're going to try something that we really have seen anecdotally that works best, and the ethics of those students that will not benefit from what we can do, become a real ethical issue. Particularly, sometimes one can justify that the only way to really assert this is temporarily use this with somebody, and part of dealing with that becomes we cap what you're going to do very clearly. Certainly something that did not happen at Tuskegee, for example. At times, individuals make decisions that's just the results don't really justify the kinds of things that we would subject individuals that would be part of that process. Right, so ethics obviously is a very, very significant issue, something for us to continue to consider, and for you to continue to consider, not only in the kinds of things that you already see happening in schools and other research, and when you read the kinds of articles that you've read, but obviously now as you try to think about your own research in the future and try to consider how you would change things in your classroom, how you would reorganize what you want to try to do, how you would publish things, how you would talk about particular programs and things, either in terms of the positives or the negatives that you see, so how carefully you use language, so forth and so on. So please take a look at all those things, and I think that you find them very fascinating and very interesting, and certainly a big issue of concern for research, no matter where you do it, no matter what level you do it, no matter how complex or simple. The issue of ethics is always present, right? The issue of ethics in terms of how do we protect people participating, how do we offer them the best possible process, how do we afford them the chance to say yes, no, participate, I won't participate, how we protect their voices, and how we place ourselves also as a researcher in that process, right? So we know that anytime we interact with somebody, we create an impact, we change some of the process, so that we are very well aware also of our own roles as researchers and how we impact the lives of individuals that we come in contact with through that process. Okay? Sounds good. Bye.